It is 3 in the morning. The rest of the world is surrendered to the quiet comfort of sleep, but you are wide awake. You are lying in the dark, staring at the ceiling, feeling an invisible weight pressing down on your chest, slowly crushing the air out of your lungs. Your heart is hammering a frantic, violent rhythm against your ribs. Your mind is racing at 1,000 miles per hour, projecting catastrophic scenarios, replaying past failures, constructing elaborate disasters that have never happened and likely never will. You are fighting a brutal, exhausting war inside the silent walls of your own bedroom. It is a profound and terrifying isolation. The world tells you to just relax, to breathe, to let it go. But the world does not understand the fire burning inside your nervous system. For years, modern society and clinical labels have told you that you are broken. They have told you that this overwhelming sensation, this anxiety, this relentless hyper-vigilance, this obsessive overthinking is a malfunction of your brain. They have convinced you that you are fragile, that you have a disease that needs to be sedated, suppressed, and hidden away. Listen to me very carefully. You are not broken. You are not malfunctioning. You are experiencing the exact opposite of fragility. Your biology is operating perfectly. You possess the ancient, hardwired nervous system of an elite survivor. Thousands of years ago, when our ancestors lived in harsh, unforgiving landscapes surrounded by lethal predators, the tribe needed sentinels. They needed individuals whose senses were so sharply tuned, whose amygdalas were so hyper-reactive, that they could hear a twig snap in the pitch black of the forest while everyone else was asleep. Those sentinels felt the exact same rush of cortisol and adrenaline that you feel right now. That chemical surge was designed to keep the tribe alive. Your anxiety is not a defect. It is a high-tech, military-grade radar system. The tragedy is that this incredible survival machine is trapped in a modern world that is far too safe, far too sterile, and far too stagnant. You are holding massive amounts of high-voltage electricity, but you have no grounding wire. You are a lightning storm trapped inside a glass jar. Today, we are going to break the jar. We are not going to talk about silencing your mind or forcing yourself into a state of artificial peace. Today, I am going to reveal the 4 transmutations of dark energy. I will show you how to take the chaotic, terrifying vault of your anxiety and turn it into the most lethal superpower a human being can possess.
The first 3 transmutations will teach you how to ground the lightning and build your infrastructure. But hear me well. The 4th transmutation is where 99% of people flee in absolute terror. It is the final, brutal frontier that separates the victims of their own chaos from the sovereign masters of their own destiny. If you are ready to stop fearing your own mind and finally tame the storm, walk with me now. Stabilize your breath. Ground your feet into the earth.
To harness a storm, you must first understand the true nature of the elements you are dealing with. We must examine the anatomy of your overload. We must understand the true nature of what we call dark energy. When people hear the word dark, they immediately associate it with evil, with malice, or with danger. This is a profound misunderstanding born from a culture that fears what it cannot easily control. In the ancient Taoist philosophy, the universe is divided into the eternal dance of yin and yang. Yang is the light. It is action, logic, structure, and the sun. Yin is the dark. It is the unknown, the deep water, the dense chaos, the raw, unshaped potential of creation. A seed does not germinate in the bright sunlight. It must be buried deep in the dark, cold, heavy soil to break open and grow its roots. Your anxiety, your anger, your obsessive fixations, these are all manifestations of deep yin. They are raw, unfiltered life force. They are dark energy. To understand what is happening inside your body when you feel anxious, you must visualize a massive, untamed, furious river. Imagine the water crashing down the side of a mountain, carrying rocks, tearing down trees, ripping the earth apart. When this wild river floods a village, it is a catastrophic disaster. It destroys homes. It ruins crops. It takes lives. The villagers look at the river and they pray for the water to disappear. They pray for a drought. This is exactly what you are doing when you pray for your anxiety to just go away. You are praying to lose your life force because you are afraid of its intensity. But consider what happens when a master engineer looks at that exact same furious, destructive river. The engineer does not wish for the water to dry up. The engineer recognizes the immense, terrifying power of the current and decides to build a massive concrete dam right in the middle of the valley. By restricting the flow, by forcing that violent water through the narrow, structured channels of the dam, the kinetic energy is captured. It spins massive steel turbines. And suddenly, the destructive flood is transmuted into gigawatts of electricity. Enough power to illuminate entire cities, to run hospitals, to build empires. The water did not change. The water is still violent. The water is still heavy. The only thing that changed was the structure that contained it. Right now, you do not have an anxiety problem. You have a structural problem. You have the wild river running through your veins, but you have absolutely no dam to catch the water. So the energy spills out in every direction. It floods your thoughts, causing you to overthink every minor interaction. It floods your nervous system, causing your hands to shake and your chest to tighten. It floods your nights, stealing your sleep. You are experiencing the pain of unharnessed potential. The high-voltage electricity is arcing and burning your own internal wiring because it has nowhere else to go. Modern psychology often fails you here because its primary goal is to make you functional within a sick society. It wants to give you a pill, or a breathing technique, or a positive affirmation to slowly drain the river until it is nothing more than a quiet, harmless, manageable little stream. It wants to make you normal. But you were not designed to be normal. You were designed with the engine of a high-performance machine. If you take a Formula One race car and force it to drive at 10 miles per hour in heavy city traffic, the engine will overheat. The spark plugs will foul. The machine will destroy itself from the inside out, not because it is broken, but because it is being forced to operate far below its true capacity. You cannot idle your engine. You cannot dry up your river. If you attempt to suppress this dark energy through toxic positivity, or by constantly distracting yourself, or by numbing your senses, you are only building a fragile, temporary wall of mud against a rising tide. Eventually, the wall will break, and the flood will be devastating. You must stop trying to achieve a state of passive, empty calmness. You must learn the architecture of the dam. You must learn how to funnel the chaos. When you are carrying this massive, ungrounded voltage within your nervous system, the absolute worst place you can look for salvation is the modern wellness industry. We live in an era that worships a very superficial, artificial concept of peace. You are bombarded daily with the mandate to think positive, to let go of your anger, to sit on a quiet cushion and simply empty your mind. You are told that if you just breathe deeply enough, the storm will magically dissipate. This is not just a gentle misunderstanding. It is a profoundly dangerous psychological trap. This brings us to the great illusion of our time, the illusion of passive calm. To understand why this toxic positivity is destroying you, you must look at the simple physics of a pressure cooker. Inside that heavy metal pot, water is subjected to intense heat. The water boils, converting into steam, and because the steam is trapped, the pressure inside the vessel multiplies exponentially. This pressure contains immense mechanical power. Now, imagine walking up to that boiling pressure cooker and deciding that the noise it is making is too disruptive. So, you take a fragile glass lid, place it on top, and press down with your bare hands, commanding the water to simply be cool. You command the steam to stop expanding. What happens? The heat source is still burning. The water is still boiling. The pressure is still rising. By sealing the vessel and pretending the heat does not exist, you are not creating peace. You are engineering a violent explosion. The metal will groan, the structure will fail, and the boiling water will shatter the glass, burning everything in its path. When you sit in your room with your heart racing at 100 beats per minute, your adrenal glands pumping cortisol into your bloodstream, and you try to force yourself to smile and think happy thoughts, you are pressing a glass lid onto a boiling pot. You are telling a biological system that is fully primed for war to simply go to sleep. Your brain registers this forced calmness as a fatal error. Your ancient, primal mind is screaming, "There is a tiger in the bushes. The tribe is in danger. Why are we sitting perfectly still?" This biological dissonance is the exact reason why passive meditation often triggers panic attacks in highly anxious individuals. You close your eyes, cross your legs, and try to find an empty void in your mind. But because you have 10,000 volts of electricity coursing through your veins with no physical outlet, that energy violently rebounds against the walls of your own skull. The silence does not feel peaceful, it feels deafening. The stillness does not feel like rest, it feels like suffocation. You cannot outthink a biological survival response. You cannot negotiate with adrenaline using positive affirmations. In the Shaolin tradition, we understand a fundamental truth about the nature of the universe. True stillness is not the absence of energy. True stillness is the perfect, absolute balance of extreme forces. Think of a heavy wooden top spinning on a table. When the top is spinning at a very slow speed, what does it do? It wobbles. It leans from side to side. It is unstable, erratic, and eventually it crashes against the wood and falls over. But what happens when you pull the string with massive, explosive force? What happens when the top spins at its absolute maximum velocity, rotating thousands of times per minute? The wobble disappears. The top stands perfectly upright. It looks completely, flawlessly still. It appears as if it is not moving at all, but that illusion of perfect peace is entirely generated by extreme, unrelenting motion. You are the spinning top. The anxiety, the overthinking, the restless agitation, that is the agonizing wobble of a powerful machine that is running too slowly. You are trying to slow your mind down to match the sleepy, sluggish pace of the modern world, and it is causing you to lose your balance and crash. To achieve true peace, you do not need to stop the top. You need to spin it faster. You need to take that chaotic, wobbling energy and align it with such absolute, focused velocity that the wobble disappears and you achieve the stillness of maximum momentum. This requires a radical shift in how you view your obsessive tendencies. The anxious mind is an obsessive mind. It fixates on a specific detail, an unpredictable outcome, or a perceived threat, and it attacks that thought from 100 different angles. It refuses to let go. Society tells you that this obsession is a sickness. But look at the greatest masters, the greatest builders, the greatest artists and warriors in human history. They were not balanced people. They were not casually interested in their crafts. They were deeply, dangerously obsessed. The exact same neurological mechanism that causes you to lie awake at 3 in the morning, obsessively replaying a conversation and analyzing every single word, is the precise mechanism required to master a complex skill, to build a business empire, or to sculpt a masterpiece. It is extreme hyperfocus. The only difference between the anxious victim and the sovereign master is the target of the obsession. When your hyperfocus has no external target, it turns inward. It begins to chew on your own self-worth. It creates phantom enemies in the shadows of your imagination. It hallucinates disasters. This is where the dark energy becomes destructive. Not because the energy is inherently bad, but because a sharp sword left in its scabbard for too long, with no battle to fight, will eventually rust and cut the wearer. Your mind is a lethally sharp blade, and because you have not given it a target to strike, it is currently cutting you to pieces from the inside. You cannot solve a physiological energy surplus with a purely psychological trick. You cannot stay in the ethereal realm of thoughts and expect to tame a physical storm. To ground the lightning, you must bring the battle into the dense, heavy realm of physical matter. You must build the infrastructure to contain the flood. You must give the tiger a reason to run, or the tiger will tear apart the cage. We must move away from the illusion of passive calm and step into the brutal, beautiful reality of forced transmutation. We must forge the iron anchor that will stabilize your storm. To ground the lightning, you must forge the iron anchor. We must move away from the fragile, intellectual illusions of the modern wellness industry and step into the heavy, unforgiving, and deeply transformative realm of physical reality. You cannot outthink an overthinking mind. You cannot use the very instrument that is malfunctioning to repair itself. When the mind is trapped in a hurricane of its own making, the only way to save it is to aggressively pull the energy down into the density of the physical body. In the Shaolin tradition, we speak extensively about the flow of qi, the vital life force. When a person is anxious, erratic, and overwhelmed, a master can look at them and immediately see that all of their qi is trapped in the upper chambers of the head. The energy is swirling violently around the skull, feeding the endless loop of catastrophic thoughts. Because all the energy is concentrated at the top, the person feels ungrounded. They feel lightheaded, disconnected from reality, as if a strong wind could blow them over. They are a kite whose string has been cut in the middle of a violent storm. To survive the storm, you do not try to reason with the wind. You tie the kite to a massive iron anvil. You must forcefully drag the qi out of the skull and anchor it deep into the earth. Consider the ancient practice of taming a wild, magnificent stallion. When you capture a wild horse, its eyes are wide with terror and aggression. Its muscles are coiled like heavy steel springs. It kicks, it bites, it violently resists any attempt to be controlled. If you put that wild horse into a tiny, quiet wooden pen and softly whisper to it, asking it to please calm down, the horse will not listen. It will smash its hooves against the wood until the fences shatter or until it breaks its own legs. It has too much raw, primitive power to simply stand still. The master horseman knows that you do not kill the spirit of the animal, nor do you coddle it. You saddle the horse. You take it out into the vast open terrain, and you ride it hard. You make it sprint up the steep, rocky side of the mountain. You force it to carry a heavy load until its lungs burn, until its coat is covered in white foam, until the massive excess of wild energy is completely exhausted. Only then, when the horse is physically spent, will it stop fighting. Only then will it lower its head, accept the saddle, and align its immense power with the will of the rider. Your anxious mind is that wild stallion. You cannot whisper it into submission. You must give it a mountain to climb. When you feel the overwhelming surge of dark energy, when the panic begins to rise and the obsessive thoughts start to spiral, you must immediately change the battlefield. You must demand an agonizing physical toll from your own body. You lift heavy iron until your muscles tremble and fail. You run on the pavement until your lungs demand oxygen so fiercely that you forget what you were worried about. You strike the heavy bag until your knuckles are bruised and your shoulders burn with lactic acid. This is not about vanity. This is about neurobiological survival. By submitting yourself to intense, voluntary physical suffering, you are speaking the only language your primal brain understands. When your amygdala releases massive amounts of cortisol and adrenaline, it is preparing your body for a life-or-death physical struggle. By engaging in intense physical exertion, you are validating that biological command. You are giving the chemistry a place to burn. You are completing the biological stress cycle. When you finally collapse on the floor, covered in sweat, your brain receives the physical signal that the predator has been defeated. The battle is over, and the tribe is safe. The wild horse has been exhausted, and for the first time in days, your mind will finally experience true, heavy, unshakable silence. But exhausting the horse is only the first half of forging the anchor. Once the physical energy is grounded, you must take the psychological mechanism of your anxiety and consciously weaponize it. What is anxiety at its core? It is extreme hyper-vigilance. It is a state of heightened awareness where your brain is desperately scanning the horizon for the slightest indication of danger. An anxious person notices everything. You notice the microscopic shift in the tone of someone's voice. You notice the subtle change in a friend's facial expression. You enter a room and instantly map the exits, the moods, the hidden tensions. You have a military-grade radar system spinning constantly in your head. The problem is not the radar. The problem is that, because you have no mission, no massive goal, no empire to build, your radar is pointed inward. It is scanning your own insecurities. It is scanning the meaningless opinions of strangers. It is scanning 1,000 imaginary futures that do not matter. To forge the iron anchor, you must take this hyper-vigilance and point it outward, toward a singular, magnificent obsession. You must take the curse of overthinking and transmute it into the superpower of lethal attention to detail. Imagine applying the exact same obsessive, relentless energy that keeps you awake at night, worrying about a social interaction, and redirecting it entirely into the mastery of a craft. The man who is comfortably calm and content will look at his business, his art, or his project and say, "It is good enough." He will overlook the flaws. He will sleep soundly while his competitors close in. But the man who has harnessed his dark energy cannot accept good enough. His hypervigilance allows him to see the cracks in the foundation that no one else can see. His obsessive mind forces him to analyze the market, the strategy, the execution from 100 different angles before he makes a move. When you stop trying to cure your overthinking and instead direct it toward a complex problem, you become an unstoppable force of nature. You become the master strategist who anticipates every possible failure and builds a contingency plan for each one. The fear of ruin, the fear of inadequacy, the fear of wasting your potential. These are no longer demons that paralyze you in your bed. They become the relentless taskmasters that whip you into greatness. You begin to realize that the most successful, visionary, and formidable individuals on this planet are not the ones who live in a state of perpetual, Zen-like bliss. They are the ones who took the terrifying, dark, heavy energy of their own internal chaos and forced it through the narrow channels of their ambition. They built the dam. They generated the electricity. They used the very fire that was meant to burn them alive to forge their crowns. When you achieve this state, your identity completely shifts. You no longer view yourself as a fragile victim of a chemical imbalance. You view yourself as an alchemist. You understand that the weight on your chest is not a symptom of a disease. It is the raw material of your future power. You begin to crave the friction. You welcome the intensity, because you now possess the iron anchor to hold it and the architecture to use it. But there is one final boundary. There is a place where the physical anchor and the mental redirection are put to the ultimate test. It is the crucible where the ego must be entirely consumed by the flame. You have grounded the lightning. You have exhausted the wild horse. You have built the dam. But now, you must face the final and most terrifying threshold of your transformation. This brings us to the ultimate stage of mastery. This is the alchemy of the predator. This is where 99% of people, even those who have learned to cope with their anxiety, will turn back, drop their weapons, and retreat into the illusion of safety. Society tells you that the ultimate goal of your personal development is to be cured. You are sold the dream that one day, if you read enough books, do enough therapy, and practice enough mindfulness, you will wake up and feel absolutely no fear. You will feel no anger, no desperate obsession, no heavy weight in your chest. You will finally be a completely harmless, tranquil creature, floating through life on a cloud of positive vibrations. But look closely at nature. A completely harmless creature is not a master. A harmless creature is prey. The people who stop at this boundary spend their entire lives managing their symptoms. They treat their dark energy like a terrifying, bloodthirsty beast that they have locked in the dark basement of their own minds. They tiptoe around the house. They constantly check the locks. They meditate. They avoid stressful situations, and they curate a perfectly safe environment just to keep the beast asleep. As long as it stays quiet, they feel successful. But they are living in a prison of their own design, always listening for the growl beneath the floorboards, terrified that one day the door will break. To achieve absolute sovereignty over your own existence, you cannot spend your life guarding the basement. You must walk down the stairs in the dark. You must unlock the heavy iron door. You must step inside, look the beast directly in its glowing eyes, and place a heavy leather harness over its back. You do not slay the dragon, you ride it. This requires a monumental shift in your perspective. You must stop categorizing your intense emotions as psychological defects and begin viewing them as raw, combustible fuel. Take the emotion of fear, fear of failure, fear of poverty, fear of judgment, fear of wasting your life and dying as a deeply average, forgotten ghost. You are constantly told to conquer your fears, to let them go, to act as if you are not afraid. But what if you stopped running from the fear? What if instead you intentionally unleashed it and allowed it to hunt you? Observe the difference between two men. The first man is motivated purely by a positive desire. He wishes to be successful. He wants to build a business so he can buy a nice house and go on vacations. His motivation is a gentle, warm light. When he encounters severe friction, when he is exhausted, when it is late and the work is hard, his gentle light flickers and dies. He goes to sleep. He is driven by a preference, not a necessity. Now, look at the second man. This man has harnessed his dark energy. He is not just working toward a dream, he is running from a nightmare. He is terrified of mediocrity. He is obsessed with not failing his bloodline. He feels a visceral, sickening dread at the thought of waking up 10 years from now in the exact same miserable position. That man does not stop working at 5 in the afternoon. That man works until his vision blurs and his hands bleed. He does not need a motivational speech to execute his daily tasks because he has the wolf breathing down his neck. He uses the terror of failure as the ultimate, inexhaustible engine of his discipline because he has tethered the predator to his carriage. His speed, his endurance, and his output become absolutely incomprehensible to the normal human being. Then there is the emotion of anger. Anger is treated as a poison in the modern world. But anger, in its purest biological form, is unadulterated thermal energy. It is fire. When you are angry at your current circumstances, angry at your past failures, angry at the disrespect you have endured from those who doubted you, do not try to breathe it out into the universe. Do not try to instantly forgive and forget just to maintain a superficial state of zen. Swallow it. Let it drop into your belly and burn like a massive industrial furnace. When your alarm goes off at 4 in the morning and the soft, weak part of your brain begs you to stay in the warm bed, positive affirmations will not pull you out from under the blankets in the freezing cold. But anger will. Let the memory of being overlooked flood your veins. Let the disgust with your own previous laziness spike your adrenaline. Use that dark, heavy heat to violently throw the blankets off your body and force your feet onto the cold floor. Use the fire to forge your iron discipline. This is the alchemy. The universe operates strictly on the law of energy transfer. The engine of a massive, unstoppable freight train does not care if the coal it burns is dirty, black, rough, and heavy. It only cares that the coal produces intense heat. Your anxiety, your hyper-vigilance, your obsessive compulsions, your unspoken anger. This is the darkest, most potent coal in existence. When you stop crying about how heavy the coal is, and you start violently shoveling it into the furnace of your grand ambition, the train becomes a juggernaut that shatters every obstacle in its path. When you cross this threshold, the game changes forever. You stop being a victim of your biology. The next time you wake up at 3 in the morning with your heart racing and the heavy weight pressing on your chest, you will not panic. You will not feel sorry for yourself. You will smile in the dark. You will recognize the adrenaline spike not as a panic attack, but as the sounding of the battle horn. You will realize that your biology is giving you the exact chemical cocktail required to go to war, to outwork your competitors, to obsess over the details, and to build the empire that the calm and balanced men are simply too relaxed to build. You will realize that the storm inside your mind was never a curse designed to destroy you. It was the greatest, most unfair advantage you were ever given. You are no longer the frightened villager praying for the flood to recede. You are the architect standing on top of the dam, listening to the deafening roar of the turbines, watching the entire valley light up with the electricity generated by your own magnificent chaos. But realizing this power is not enough. You must seal the pact with the storm. I know the agonizing weight deep inside your bones. I know exactly how solitary it is to lie awake in the suffocating quiet, carrying the crushing burden of tomorrow before the sun even rises. You have spent your entire life being misunderstood. You have been called fragile, overly sensitive, and broken by people who could not survive a single hour with the sheer, terrifying voltage you carry in your mind every single day. They wanted you numb because your intensity made them uncomfortable. But you are not a victim of your biology. You are a weapon that was never taught how to strike. The days of apologizing for your fire are over. The days of desperately trying to shrink your massive, hyper-vigilant spirit into a small, quiet, socially acceptable box end right here, in this exact moment. You possess the raw, combustible fuel that builds empires, shatters limitations, and bends reality to its will. You are the storm they fear. But understanding this alchemy means absolutely nothing if you do not make a permanent, irreversible choice. Look inward right now. Feel that heavy, anxious, vibrating energy sitting in your chest. Look at the furious river you have been running from your entire life. Will you spend the rest of your days medicating that storm, begging a sick world to make you numb, average, and harmless? Or will you finally step into the dark, forge your heavy iron dam, and become the lightning? The choice is yours. The path is open. Amitwofo.